Hello and welcome back to the Ash and Stone channel. My name is Chris and today I'm going to show you how I go about making tattered cloth banners for my Oathmark figures.
Do you really believe men will fight and die for a rag and a pole, sir?
These are great for quote-unquote evil units such as orcs, goblins and undead, and they look really good on the table, if I do say so myself. I use cheap cotton for them. I brought a set of bed sheets, essentially the cheapest I could find, and hopefully you can see they are very thin and the weave is quite coarse. This also gives me plenty to practice with. You can use whatever colour you want, though I'm going to be using black because evil. In addition to that, you'll need a pair of scissors to cut the cloth, a scrap of wood, big enough to put your banner on, some sandpaper, coarser grit is better, this is 120 and I wouldn't go any finer than that, some super glue, and a little PVA, ideally quite liquid. To start with, you want to cut a bit of cloth for your banner. Make it larger than you need as it'll be torn apart by the sandpaper and any extra can be trimmed to fit later on. Try to cut it along the strands of cloth rather than diagonally. That will 1. Help you cut square and straight, and 2. Align the weave of the cloth in the correct orientation on the banner pole. Then, placing the cloth on the scrap of wood, I roughly sand the ends of the cloth, tearing it and separating the threads of the weave. And you basically just do that until you're happy. It will reach a point where it goes kind of fuzzy and lumpy, and I find it best just to keep working through that, pulling out the little fuzzy bits of the sandpaper until you're left with a thin, patchy weave. This is an inexact science, and it's easy to tear too much away, so we make sure we're a little oversized, and if you do overdo it, just cut out another piece and try again. If you've brought bed sheets, you've got a lot of it. Once I'm happy with the ragged edge, I offer the banner up to the miniature to check the size, and then trim away any excess with the scissors. I can touch those edges with the sandpaper if I feel they need it, and then it's time to glue the cloth to the banner pole. I find super glue is great for this. Just put a line down the pole where the banner is wanted, then press the cloth into place. It'll wick up the super glue quite quickly and adhere nice and fast. To make the banner more poseable and lock it into place, I apply PVA in a 2-step process. First of all, I wet the banner with a watered down PVA mix. This is about 90% water and it has a drop of liquid soap added to make sure it soaks in quickly. On top of that, I add a drop of PVA, which is brushed in and will make sure the banner dries hard. Adding the watered down PVA first helps the thicker stuff to penetrate into the cloth rather than forming a shell on the surface. When the cloth is wet, it hangs under gravity a lot better, and if you poke it around with your brush or pinch folds in, you can pose the banner without too much trouble. It's worth taking the time to faff around with it a bit to get a nice natural fall of cloth and to simulate a bit of wind. When I'm happy, that can be set aside to dry. While that is drying, I'll get on with my second example, the hanging banner. This follows the same basic process. I cut the cloth out oversized, sand it to rough it up, offer it up to the model to check the size and how it looks, and then cut it down. Because of the horizontal pole and the skull in the middle, I have to be a bit more creative with the cuts here. Once I've got the width to size, I can fold the banner in half and cut down its length until I judge I've got far enough. Then I do a 45-degree cut towards the middle of the banner, removing a triangular section from the centre. I've deliberately left the arms long as I've got a little more roughing up to do, and I want to keep them tidy before cutting them to their final size. I rough up the middle section a little to open it up so it's not quite so neat. Then offering the banner up to the figure again, I cut the arms to size. The banner is glued to the pole with super glue in the same manner as the other one, though having a pair of tweezers handy makes positioning things a breeze. Once again, it's wet with watered down glue and then PVA is applied, brushed into place, and the cloth is posed a little before being set aside to dry. Once we're all dry, we can add a lick of paint. I'm using a bit of watered down black to tidy things up. You can get a bit of a funny looking surface from the PVA, and a quick coat of black just evens things out. From there, highlights are added using a little black grey, then black grey mixed with a little, wait for it, Iraqi sand. Too easy. Then you're free to paint on whatever designs you like. For bonus points, you can paint the banner pole where the cloth would wrap around it with the same colours used for the banner. In this case, a base of black with a quick highlight of black grey. It's not a complex process at all, but it gives you a fantastic looking banner for the units that are a little less refined, shall we say. I hope that helps out, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!